Hi, welcome to a brand new series called the Q&A with Pixel Village. Here, what we do is we pick very important questions from the comments column in every video and we try to answer them so that it can be helpful to a much larger audience. So let's get to the first question straight away. This one is from the video on Finest Aperture. Does the critical aperture change with different zoom levels in the same particular lens? Please enlighten us. Enlighten. Okay, there are two types of zoom lenses. There are zoom lenses which has moving elements, and there are these newer lenses which have internal focusing elements, which means the length of the zoom lens doesn't change when you change your focal length. In the olden times, you will have had to, when you rotate or when you pull or push the zoom ring, you will see an element coming in and out, going in and out of the front end of your lens barrel. In such lenses, you are likely to encounter a shift in your critical aperture point. Whereas I want to assume that there will not be too much of a change in an internally focusing zoom lens. So when I'm changing from 70 mm, this is a 70 mm 2.8 from Nikkor, 70 to 200, the lens doesn't undergo any change in length. So I want to assume that there will not be too much of a change in the critical aperture which this lens has. Now to the second question. This one is from B. Bennett. Does distance to the subject change the optimum aperture for a particular lens? The straight answer is no, but it depends on how you're measuring it. Now, if you take a macro lens and when you try to find out the critical aperture or the sweet spot, make sure that you're working with a macro subject, not a landscape. Okay? If that is so, if you do that, you can get a wrong value. You're likely to get a wrong value. Similarly, if you are trying to find out the sweet spot of a portrait lens, make sure that your subject is in a portrait shooting distance. And similarly, if you're buying a 300 mm lens, make sure your subject that you're testing or the object that you're using to test the optimum aperture is relatively far away from the lens. Also, make sure that your camera is mounted on a heavy tripod so that the vibrations doesn't defeat the whole exercise. To the third question now. Will the sweet spot of the lens be same with and without flash? Will it change according to availability of light? Again, no, it cannot change. Well, it can. The perceived sharpness will change if the light changes. Okay? For example, if your light is hitting your subject flat frontal, then even if you are working with the sharpest or the sweetest spot, you will still not perceive the sharpness to the extent that you would have if the light was to fall on the subject from an acute angle, which means the acute angle, the light will help bring out all details in your skin, I've explained that in that video. So it depends on where the light is, not what the light is. Hope that answers your question. The fourth question is from Nobby Matthew. He wants to know a tripod which can fix a camera vertical, and Nikon D80 40 best for whether 5D Mark IV or D850, which is best for portrait and video. Well, this question is probably irrelevant to the subject that you are discussing, but however, I'll try and answer this question. The first one, which can fix camera vertical? Well, all tripods will let you fix a camera vertically. Well, it's not the tripod, it's a tripod head which will actually help you fix it vertically. So now this is a tripod head. When you mount your camera here, it'll let you, you can shoot on a landscape mode like this, and if you tilt it this way, it'll allow you to mount the camera vertically or in a portrait mode. Now let me show it to you. Well, I have this camera here, but the difference is, there are two differences. Okay, this is the camera mounted in standard landscape mode. Now, if I want the vertical mode or the portrait mode, I can do this. Now, as you noticed, from this position, when I tilt the camera, I actually lost my center of lost the center of the frame. I need to completely reframe the shot altogether. But if you have something called an L bracket, which is what I am using here, it's an additional accessory which you can buy from lots of manufacturers online. We are using an RRS head and an RRS L bracket. What you can do is you can, from the landscape position, you can take the camera out and straight away mount it like this vertically. With an obvious advantage, you will not lose your frame, except that your landscape became vertical, but your axis or the center point you have not lost majorly. Hope that explains. And the second part of the question, which one is better for a portrait, a D850 or 5D Mark IV, and which is better for video? Okay, difficult to answer. It's actually very difficult to recommend a camera for someone. I can tell you from my experience with cameras. Well, I found D850 by far the best camera that you can buy. Well, I'm sure there are lots of varying opinions. I'm talking about my opinion, so please bear with me. I'm sure people have varied opinions and I accept it. D850 by far to me is the best camera that you can use to do, you can use for almost all kinds of shoots. Let it be portraiture, landscape, micro, architecture, product, and video. In fact, we are using the D850 to film this YouTube video. With regard to the 5D Mark IV, with all respect to them, they are fantastic cameras. But since the 850 is a newer camera with much newer technology, it tends to have an edge. I'm sure it'll continue to have that edge till, let's say, a competitor comes out with a better camera with a better technology. We're going to upload similar videos in a regular interval, and we're going to answer 4 to 5 questions we think is appropriate in every video. So please use the comments column in every video, keep asking your questions, and we'll try and answer to the best of our ability. And also, don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and do all of that. Bye for now.